Hey everyone, it's Theo from Spectrum Gardening. So we've done a little bit of work on the backyard so far, and we've changed up a few things since the last time we've given a tour of it. So let's go take a look-see. So as you can see, it's actually quite clear now. From our initial video that we did, you weren't even able to see through the back, and you actually had to walk crouching down to actually get through the yard. So we're going to go down, we're going to take a closer look at exactly everything that we've done so far, and I'll explain it to you step by step. But first, I'll just do a pan around of the whole yard so you can see the whole thing, what it looks like. So here's the entrance, going over here. And that is where our greenhouse will more or less be. Trampoline still has to be put in place. So before I actually walk through the whole yard and explain everything what we've done and what we're going to be doing, I'm just going to attach a couple pictures of what it looked like before we put in all our fill, and the transition from taking everything out and putting all the fill in. So as we walk through the gate, you can immediately see there's a huge difference in the yard. We did keep this shrub here, even though we have to trim it way back and just kind of shape it to what we'd like. And then right beside it, I planted a columnar apple tree. And you can see down there that we have another line of different plants going on at the same time. And I'll explain more about that in a couple moments. And over on this fence side over here, all along here, these are all lilacs. So our plan is to take down that metal chain link fence eventually, and then dig around all the lilacs, remove all the ivy and all the bamboo, and kind of just prune them up into better shape. And then they'll not only give us nice privacy during the summer months, but then they'll also give some really nice smell and stuff like that too. So as we walk through here, you can see that we have a pathway pretty much all the way to the back, and we have a pathway over here too, and I'll explain about one of each at each time. So as we go on down here, we can see that we kept this shrub right here, and this one, and this one, and there's a lilac that definitely needs a good pruning just to kind of shape it up a little bit more. And we've got an apple tree right here. We did like this piece of wood right here, so we are planning to keep it and use it as decoration for something, but I didn't want it to get chucked out when we had the bobcat come in here. So I just placed it up there for the time being. And you can see the tree is leaning quite a bit. So who knows how long it'll be around for, but in the meantime, we'll enjoy it. And then I planted another columnar apple all right here. And then as we come down here, I've planted both our currants. We've got a red currant and we've got a golden champagne currant. We do have more plants in our field, which we will be pulling out shortly. And later on, I will be putting the black currant right about there. So there'll be a nice line of currants. So if we turn around and we look down there, we have a pathway. We have a tunnel. Our daughter Em, she really liked the tunnel when we first moved here, even though it was totally overgrown. It was hard to walk through. So we've tried to keep it in a way that we will still have the tunnel aspects, and we will still have that same feeling, but much more manageable. And then if we turn back to the corner where these currants were before, there used to be a patch of hollies here, and a great big pile of what I would say is compost and stuff like that, compost soil, and just dead branches. So we cleared that all out when we actually used it for a bit of a fill, so we didn't have to bring in too much. We actually had to bring in 42 yards of fill to fill out what we took in the backyard. And to be honest, it probably could use another yard of fill. another 14 yards, but that's not going to happen. We're going to make do with what we have, what we've already put in there. So let's go take a look at this other pathway that we've set up. So there is roses throughout this whole property. And there is some on the other side of the house that we dug up and transplanted over here. And there is some in some other parts of the backyard too that we've dug up. So what I've done is I've created a whole row of them all along here, right from the, right pretty much from the middle of the greenhouse, right to the front. So if we walk through that here again, once the roses are trimmed and once they filled out, then they'll definitely look better. Same with all the plants that I pretty much hacked right back. And then if we turn around over here, you can see the pond looks completely different compared to what it was before. It was just overcrowded with stumps, and we weren't even sure why the old stumps and logs were there until the bobcat came in and he ended up ripping them all out. And it turns out there was a tree planted right beside it. Go figure, right? So our greenhouse will be more or less there. It's not actually put into place right now. It's just kind of put temporarily in that spot. And it's got a couple sandbags on it, so it's not going to blow away. But my way of thinking of it was, if we're up on the deck as you saw earlier, and if you're looking out and you see the greenhouse there, and then we string some Christmas lights along the inside of it, just to give it a little bit more warmth for the plants on the colder times. It'll look really pretty. And then right beside the greenhouse, we're going to be putting all our raised beds. We're going to be putting in about 5 or 6 raised beds, which are going to be 4 by 12 feet long. I just need to go build those and then get those in before the frost happens. So as you probably can see, there's a big pile of this plastic stuff over here. This edging that you see right here, this stuff is horrible. We've talked about it in a previous Facebook post, but that stuff sinks into the soil, it gets overgrown. It's absolutely horrible. And I'll be honest, I had a mini Kubota here and I had a bobcat, and they both really struggled to deal with it. There was times that I have to go and cut it from the ground because they were struggling so much with it. And I still need to go dump all that stuff. So if we go to the back of the greenhouse, right back there, you can see I've got a leaf pile going. That's going to be meant for that's going to be meant for the bottom of my raised beds, so that I can start building my soil right from the bottom up. I'll be putting cardboard down first, then the leaves, and then a good layer of moo poo, which is separated dairy manure. And then on top of that, I'll be putting our regular soil blend topped up with more moo poo. But that's going to be, I've just got that pile of leaves going and waiting until I've got my raised beds here. So if we look behind, we've got a plum tree there. We've got a fig tree here, another fig tree. What I'm going to be doing with that fig tree is putting some stakes behind it, hammering them into the ground, and then pulling that fig tree backwards. So it's not going to lean so much forwards. As you can see right now, it's leaning quite a bit. And then beside that, we've got another apple tree here. When we first moved here, when we first had the tour, we actually had 2 great big cherry trees and a plum tree right in here. And our plan was right in here. And our plan was to originally keep the plum tree, but the 3 of us were out in the yard one time, and Em put her hand on the trunk and she ended up getting stabbed by big thorns, and that was that we decided to take down the plum tree afterwards. And the cherry trees, they were just so far gone. You can see how much more open the yard looks without those 3 in there. As much as we didn't want to take down the plum, we all knew that it would not be the type of tree that we'd want to be keeping in our yard with sharp thorns like that on it. And then behind here, there is quite a few rhododendrons and quite a few camellias that we took out along the back over here. We did actually save quite a few plants for our front yard, and all the plants that we took out, we actually didn't toss away. We gave them away. We dug up the roots, the root balls, and we gave them away to people that wanted them, to people who would actually have the space and appreciate them, because there is just so many in this space, and they were so mature and so overgrown that it just wasn't working. And then back here, we've got a rhododendron that I've cut right back. I've done it so severely in hopes that I can restart it, because it was so scraggly. There was so much growth in the yard before that it wasn't actually getting any light. So it was really scraggly, really scrawny. It was quite tall, but it just wasn't growing the way it should be. So I've cut it right back, and if it comes back, great. If not, we would have liked to keep it, but it just wasn't gonna work the way that it was supposed to. So you can see over here, I've got all the wood that we've cut out of the, we've cut down from the 2 cherry trees and the plum tree, and then I've got the princess tree still in the front that needs to be taken care of. And now I'm going to be stacking it up on pallets and throwing a tarp under it just to kind of age it a little bit more and dry it out. This cedar tree will help keep it dry. That's kind of why I put the pallets back there, and to keep them on top of the pallets. So when we got here, there is a huge pile of soil right pushed up against this cedar tree. Like, probably it started right about there and it went all around it. And it was probably about this tall in the trunk. So you can actually see the soil line. There's even more. You can see the soil line right there, where the previous owner had just pushed up the soil, and it would slowly kill the tree. So I've pulled that all back, and again, we've used that partly for our fill. We do need to come back and take care of the ivy that's growing along the fence line along here and in some other spots, and we do need to prune up these boxwoods, but we're racing against time right now to try and get our raised beds in before the frost comes. What we've done with this Douglas fir over here, even though the ivy's still all over there, we've cut it down. We've cut it at the base of the tree. So it's actually, we've killed the plants that are growing on the tree right now. But we just need to come back and dig it out by hand from along the base. So it's not going to regrow, and it's not going to kill the tree. It's a beautiful tree. We really like it. But if we left the ivy just wrapped around it, it slowly would have strangled it and it would have died, and our neighbors would probably not be too impressed if it fell on their house. So you can see how open it is compared to what it was before. Before, it was just a jungle. We will be creating our own jungle here, but it'll be much more manageable than the previous one. The previous one was it was let go for too long. We did keep this other apple tree right here, as you can see. This one's not leaning as bad as the other one, so we'll have it for longer. It does need a really good prune, as you can see from the top up there. It's just gone a little wild. So that's another thing on our list. But the big thing for us was to get the bobcat to come in here and to take out all the ivy and all the bamboo that was growing along this back half along here. It was basically a 3-day job for him to come in, take it all out, and put down all the fill that we needed. So it's something I wanted to show you. When I was digging, by that cedar tree and pulling out all that soil, I actually found this composter buried in it. There's the composter, there's the bottom, and then there's the top, and here's the top for it. Here's all the parts in there. This is a pile that I still need to sort out. And then I also found this too. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I will look it up in just a moment, and I'll explain what that is about. So just a few minutes ago, I was filming, and I couldn't remember the exact name of what's in front of me right now. So I looked it up, and it's a solar food digester. The way it works is that basket there, it gets dug into the ground, And then on top of that basket, this black cone gets put on there. And it's got an opening on the top, and then the green cone gets put on top of the black cone. And the basket's sitting under the soil like that. This basket's kind of mangled and squished, so maybe not the best example. And then above ground, you have this green cone. So apparently you can use it for pretty much everything. You can use it for animal feces, you can use it for food scraps, and everything like that. And apparently it won't attract animals to your yard because everything's underground and they can't access it. We're not sure if we're going to be keeping it or not. It's typically, from what I've been able to gather before, it's typically best used when you're growing veggies and growing stuff right beside it. Not that I would want to grow my veggies right beside soil that I fed with animal feces, but I think that's kind of beside the point. It's typically used when you're growing right around it. So then all the microorganisms are kind of attracted to there, and all the benefits are kind of going out there. Ourselves, we're going to be doing it all in raised beds all along there. So it's kind of why we're hemming and hawing about still keeping it or not. But it's still a cool kind of treasure to find, because we've never seen it before. And when we found it, we actually did some research on it and we're like, wow, this is pretty cool. And it's just I wonder why the other owner never really used it. So you can see from before, there's a whole bunch of 9 barks and verbetums planted along here. We've taken them out and we've cleared that all up. Eventually our trampoline will be going right where this rose is right here. However, we just aren't ready to transplant the rose just yet. So we've left it there until we're ready to dig it out and transplant it to where we need. Because there's no sense of just having it kicking around. The longer we can leave it in the ground, the better it is for the plant. So there's one thing I wanted to show you over here. You can see there's more of that black edging. It was everywhere. What the previous owner had done, she had created her beds and she edged it all with that. You can see that it would probably go down there, and I know where that form of the bed was. It went there and all along here. This whole backyard was covered in it, right underneath the soil line. So you can imagine how much fun that was pulling that out. So this hydrangea here, even though it's sticking out quite a bit, what my plan is to do with it is to tie it back and to tie it up there and to kind of train it to grow a little bit more straighter along that post, because I want to use it to match this hydrangea over here. If you follow us on Facebook, you'd see a post that we did where we cut this hydrangea right back. It has got beautiful blooms on it and everything like that. But the thing is, it's right in front of our back door. So it was growing in such a way that there was no path. You can see right in front of our back door along there. There's no path directly into the backyard, either from this side or from this side here over here. And you can see that stump of the hydrangea right there. That's one I'll eventually be taking out too, because there's actually, it's just those two. I thought there was three in this spot, but there's actually just those two. So, but I will be taking that one out, just because if I leave it there, it's going to overgrow, and it's going to make our access to the backyard a little bit more difficult, just like the way it was before. So as you can see, we've done a few changes to the backyard. We still have to put in our raised beds. We still have to fill them. We still have to put in all our irrigation. We still have to put our greenhouse into place. And we still have to put the raised beds in the greenhouse, plus the shelving unit in the greenhouse for the seedlings in the spring. We have to do that all before the first frost. So we do still have quite a bit of work cut out for us. And we do still have some major plans for the backyard, because one thing I don't want to be doing, I don't want to be mowing grass. I don't want to just be, I want something there. I want a nice ground cover that we're not really going to have to do very much with. We're thinking along the lines of either micro clover, Corsican mint, or creeping thyme. along the lines of those. They don't get very tall, and those ones we can pretty much just leave and kind of let them do their own thing. So, as I mentioned earlier, we did take quite a few of the plants from the backyard and put them into the front yard, and we will be doing a tour on the front yard and how it looks shortly. So don't forget to subscribe, like our videos, and if you have any questions or comments, throw them down below. Hey everyone, it's Theo from Spectrum Gardening. So we've done a little bit of work on the backyard so far, and we've changed up a few things since the last time we've given a tour of it. So let's go take a look-see.